Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. And today we're going to do my very first full makeup vlog for the Tizoob, okay? I don't normally do that, but I'm trying to give y'all more vlogs between the makeup and the vacation. We're going to get this channel popping. So first, please like, share, and subscribe. Secondly, I don't care how you do your makeup. Do your makeup your way. I don't care for no one commenting telling me, no, do it this way, do it that way. I do my makeup this way, and I love my finished product. So as I do these vlogs, I'm going to be more focused on showing y'all the products I use and not necessarily my technique, because makeup is just that. It's makeup. You can do the shit any kind of way you want to do it, all right? It's makeup. Unless you are professionally doing a professional person's makeup or something like that. And even then, your creative art is, you know, what you're going to collab with that individual. So if that person wants something highly intensely creative, then you can go all out with all the creative modules you have in your brain, okay? But for me, this is fun. I do makeup for fun. It's not something that pays my bills. It is not something that I do as a business. You know, I do it for fun, and I do love sharing the products that I do use for the brands that I am in business with, such as Duckie Cosmetics. So you'll hear a lot of Duckie Cosmetics, especially when we get to completing the face. So Duckie Cosmetics, Code Nikki. Always go at her site, on her site, see the amazing things that she has. You're going to always hear that wonderful, sweet name coming out of my mouth. But today we're going to go ahead and get started. And makeup always start with what? Skincare. Okay, I've already washed my face. I already toned. Now for me, I don't need a lot of skincare. Even though I am a mature woman, I don't need a lot of skincare. Now today my skin is a little tanned because I'm just coming back from vacation. So I'm going to do a little more than what I normally would do as my makeup. As a makeup step. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is the brows. Okay. So we're going to be using the Ebony Pomade by Plain Makeup by Yalondo. And I just like to start on the back side of the brow first. Getting that shaped. And then come in and fill in the front. Now, personally for me, again, my preference, I like the natural shape of my brows, so I don't make them much bigger or broader. I like to keep like the natural shape of my brows. See how I just literally just filled in that natural shape of that brow? That's my preference. Some people prefer to make their brows larger, which is fine. And actually for some people, especially people who I think have like thick brows, like I don't have thick brows, they're very, very light. I like that look on a lot of people. It's just not the look for me. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and finish the brows and we'll be back. One thing I should have pointed out before I started the brows is to remember our faces are not perfect in this natural form on both sides. So like for me, this brow is a whole lot more less arched than this brow. So when I actually start to create the shape of the brow, I stay within that natural form of the brow. So they're not going to ever, for me, be perfect because I place it where they naturally are. Now, you could do the opposite. You could like make them perfect, but I mean, look the same to you, you know. I just know they're not, because I know they're not in the natural form, but that's just me. My preference is to, again, try to stay as natural with the brows as possible. My idea of makeup, even when I do creative makeups, I want people to still know it's me. Unless I'm doing something like intense, like a Halloween type of costumic, is that you must say, creative creation. And then I don't really care. But when I'm actually like going out and about, which I'm not today, I'm just doing makeup for the hell of it, which I do most of the time. I just still want to look like myself in my pictures, if that makes sense. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the Raincoat number 7 by Lashing Out Glam. All right, so we're going to take a 1010 brush by who? Duckie Cosmetics. I told you you'll hear that a lot. So this is a 1010 brush. This brush can be used for several uses, and you're going to see me use it for several things throughout this video. But for right now, we're going to use it to carve out the brow. So just like when I applied the pomade, I started on the back part of the brow. I like to start on the back part of the brow with the shadow base as well. And I'll just take the 1010 brush, and just like that. This is what we love about the 1010 brush by Duckie Cosmetics. It is easy to shape your brow and cut creases. I also use it to lay down my foundation, but it's easy to use because it's such a flat brush. So as you can see, just like that, that brow is carved. And we're just going to lay down the rest of that base and do the other eye, and we'll be back. Okay, so the bottom of the brows are carved out. You see my natural arch is there. I just literally carved into that arch. And I like to do the top of my brow with a darker shade of a shadow base, regardless of what colors I'm doing down here. This is always going to be closest to my complexion as I can get, and then I'll blend it in. So this is number 8 by Louise. We're going to use this. Another one I like to use is the number 9 by Spike Beauty. But we're going to use the number 8 today by Louise to carve out the brows on top. And what made me do this video today is a lot of times when we're live on like TikTok, we're having a good time. But, you know, a couple of my closest friends have asked me to help them with knowing how to do their makeup, especially in a basic form, right? So this video will help them. So instead of me saying, okay, I'll show you one day and never get the chance to do it because I'd be so busy, I now have a video for them. So I hope this can help one of you too. So now I'm going to just take that darker shade of base. And this step you don't have to do. For example, there are some days I don't do it, and I'll just go ahead and just carve my brows out at the top later with just my foundation. But if you want a smooth, crisp carving, you want to do this. And as you can see, that shade is slightly darker than the number 7 that I used at the bottom. So we'll carve out the other brow, and then we'll blend that all out. Okay, so if you can see, both eyes are carved at the top, but this one I carved a little bit too much right there. So what I'm not going to do is make it any smaller, because I want this brow, because you could make this brow match this one, but I like the thickness of this brow. So what I'll do is I'll just, once this dries down, after we blend it out, add a little bit more pomade right there and just fill it in. And then I'm going to take the excess of this product, because we waste no product, and I'm just going to put that in the inner corner of the bottom of my brow and on eye, right on top of the other eyeshadow. And it'll just give it a little contrast, then we'll blend it in together. Okay. So I'm just going to take the brush and we're going to just blend that in. And what we're doing is just putting that product into the skin, pushing it into the skin. So when we apply the eyeshadow base, it is nice and flat. Okay, so we're going to finish blending out and we'll be back. Okay, so now everything is blended down, and I also took my brush that had the residual pomade on there and filled in that one little spot that I went too far down on. And now we have our brows prep and eyes prep for shadow. So for shadow today, we will be using the Dollhouse palette by Blend Bunny. So this is a neutral palette, but I'm not going to be using the shimmers out of this palette. I'm going to be using I am going to be using a little of the shimmer, but I'm going to be going over top with Newton Duck, which is one of my favorite glitters by who? Again, Duckie Cosmetics. Code Nikki. If y'all don't hear anything else this video, you're going to hear Duckie Cosmetics over and over again. That is my brand, okay? My favorite brand to shop from. So Newton Duck will definitely be going on the eye as well. So let's get into the shadow. So let's get a brush. I think I want to start off with using one of my detail brushes by, again, Duckie Cosmetics. Duckie Cosmetics sell detail brushes. These come in a pack of four different brushes, and these are perfect when you want to get into the details. So sometimes I like to use these to start certain looks, to carve out my crease, and to create the shape of whatever eye I'm going with, okay? So we're going to be using that. Let me get the mirror. All right, so the first shade I want to use out of this palette is this purple shade called Cinched. Okay, so we're going to take Cinched. Now, this is another thing. See how the eyeshadow right there crease? Because I have creasing right there in the front of my eye. You always want to keep that smooth, right? So when you see it begin to crease, no problem. Just pick up your brush and just tap it out. Then place your eyeshadow. So we're going to be going here. And you see how crisp that detail brush is? Okay. So let me go ahead and get everything laid on with Cinched, and we'll be back. Okay, so we have Cinched laid down. So now we're going to go in with our next shade. And the next shade we're going to go in with is going to be Figure. Just like this little mustard shade. And I'm going to take Figure above Cinched. Just like that. So I'm literally blending it into Cinched on the edge, but not overpowering Cinched. Okay. And we're going to do the same, but down here. With Cinched. Right back there. So I do have a code for Blend Bunny, and that's Vaughn. If you would like to purchase Blend Bunny palettes, you can use code Vaughn, V-O-N. She has a code. So that's the code I use for Blend Bunny. Okay. All right. We're going to get Figure laid down on both sides. And never worry if you do go too far into the other color, because you can just go right back and pack it back on. But we definitely want to make sure that we get into it enough to blend the two shades. And the same, we're going to go at the bottom of this one. Okay. All right. Now let's go into our next shade, which is going to be Rouge, which is like this mauve color. And we're going to come right underneath a cinch with Rouge and all inside. And we're going to get these eyes blended out and we'll be back. Okay, the next shade we're going to go in with is Plastic, which is like this, I guess you can call it a burnt orange, maybe lightly burnt orange, but that's what we're going in with. And we're just going to take that shade and lay it right underneath, and we're going to blend that right into Rouge. Actually, let me get another brush for that one. I want a thicker flat brush. And so here we go. I'll use this brush right here. I'm just going to take it and see how that better packs on the lid. So knowing your tools is a big part of doing makeup, but that's something that you're not going to learn overnight. That is going to be just something that you learn from practice and repetition. And I'm taking that all up into there. We're still going to be cutting the crease, but again, we're laying out the foundation of what we're going to be doing with this eye. So we're going to take that where we're going to take it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna finish laying down these shades and then we should be ready to cut the crease. Okay, so a couple things we're gonna note that I did off camera is I went back into each shade after I laid down everything, then we went back into the first shade. So we took our detail brush and went right back into the shade which was cinched, which was that purple, and just went back over that to make sure that they were blended in together good with the Rouge and the Plastic. And now we're ready to go and cut the crease. Now, cutting the crease, some people clean off their crease all the time. I clean off my crease some of the time. And it all depends on what colors I'm working with. Because of the type of crease I'm going to do today, we are going to clean off the crease. We're going to use Micellar Water by Blend Bunny and a Q-tip to do that. So I like to take the top off it, dip my clean Q-tip into that. And you don't need your Q-tip to be soaking wet. Actually, it's not actually going to benefit you to have it soaking wet because it's going to just be too wet in the cleanup. But you want it to be wet enough that you can just swipe. So I like to take it and just tap it on my hand first. All right, then we're going to take and we're going to cut this crease. And we're going to cut it from here. So not necessarily from the corner like I normally would do, but from here. And I'm using the eyeball as the guide, okay? All right, and we're just gonna clean. All right, so then I'm going to take the dry side and we're just going to clean right there. Okay. It's giving me what I want. Now, the typical cut crease would not be this way. You would literally like be cutting it across the eye, but that's not what I want to do with this look. So we're going to take it from here, and I'm using, this is how I match up both eyes. I'm using my eyeball as the placement. So I started this crease right there in the beginning of the eyeball. So when I go over here to cut the crease, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to start it right here in the beginning of the eyeball and then start to wipe off and up to give the same cut. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and finish this crease. We'll be back. All right. So now that we have carved both creases, we are now going to cover that crease or the clean part up with a eyeshadow base. This is number 8 by Spike Beauty. I like to use this base to cut my creases because it dries down really fast and it's tacky. And it pulls the product into it really, really good. So this is my product of choice to cut the base. And then we're going to get a clean 888 brush by Duckie Cosmetics. I might have said called it, so I'm not sure. So just in case, Duckie Cosmetics have 2 different brushes. This is the 888 brush. That's the one that I used earlier, and the one I'm using now. It's also a 1010 brush. So if I accidentally said 1010 earlier, that was my bad. But we're using the 888. You can use the 1010 brush. Actually, I probably should have used a 1010 brush to cut this crease since it's a wacky crease that I'm doing. But since we already laid the product on the 888, that's what we're going to use. Just getting that in there. And down here, we want to get as close to that line. But I don't want to take the line away. We want to keep that sharpness of the line. Okay. And someone asked, because it used to be a question I had before I understood it, why clean off the crease to cover it back up? Well, you're only doing it so the colors don't bleed through. This base is so strong, though, to be honest. I probably could have used it without cleaning the crease. But, you know, when I use certain colors, I definitely just like to clean the crease anyway. It won't hurt nobody. Alright, so we got this one carved the way we want to carve. Now we're going to go to this other eye and carve the crease as well. And I'll be back. Okay, so we have both creases cut. And then once I lay down the base, I took a little flat brush and just tapped that base down just like that. Just again, just like we put down that first base, we want it to be flush to the skin. And you just take a clean brush and just do that. So we did that on both sides. All right, so now we're going to go in first with the shimmer we're going to use. Now to apply the shimmer, I'm going to use a Duckie Cosmetics silicone brush this time though. So we're going to go in first with the P2 brush by Duckie Cosmetics. And this is a silicone brush. It's good for laying down your shimmers. So I'm going to take Lace, which is like the white silverish shimmer in the Dollhouse palette. And we're going to sit that right on top of the base. On both eyes. Now remember how I said I love this base? See how it is pulling that shimmer? I didn't even put down any powder. I'm just literally applying that shimmer right on top of the base. So this is why mattifying base is good for this. Because if it was too oily, it wouldn't lay down so easily with just the shimmer. I would have to put down the powder first. But in this case, we're good. All right. And because we're going in with the glitter as well, we don't have to, you know, be perfect with the shimmer. But I do want the shimmer to be covering the base. I'm just trying to see if I want to blend that a little bit right there. And do. Okay, so we got that first shimmer down. Now we're going to lay down the other shimmer and we'll be back. Okay, so now we got both shimmers down. Now we're going to get ready to go in with Newton Duck, which is a nice, beautiful silverish glitter by Duckie Cosmetics. And this pulls, like if you take Newton Duck and put it on top of, let's say, royal blue, it pulls in that color as well. So to prep for that, we're going to take a little bit of this Kiss glue. And not a lot, just a little bit. Like you really could like hold it without it. But we're just going to take a little bit. Because I'm taking some of the big chunks. And I want some of the big chunks on there too. But we're not going to take a whole lot. Okay. And let's get Newton Duck. I'm looking at, if y'all wonder when I'm looking at 3 different mirrors. All right, so we're going to take Newton Duck. And sometimes I will put glue on the silicone brush as well. And I actually switched for the glitter to the P4 silicone brush. We use the P2 to put down the shimmer, but we're using a P4 to put down the shimmer. I meant to put down the glitter. And we're just going to tap that on. And the brush is going to pick up some of that glue anyway, so that's why I didn't put none on the glue. I meant on the brush. Y'all know what I mean. And see what I mean by I'm picking up some of the big chunks. So secret. If you're using a Duckie Cosmetics glitter that has the chunks in it, if you want only the little pieces, tap lightly. If you want the big pieces, hold it down. And you're going to get them. Okay? But I want both. So I'm doing light taps and hold taps. Because I do want some chunkiness on this eye. Like the skin use a little bit more chunky right in that area. I love Newton Duck. You hear me? You can do a real simple eye with Newton Duck and it's still going to give you a beautiful eye. You know? You don't have to do too much when you use a Newton Duck. get a couple chunks right here. All right. And we are done with the eye. And we're going to get into face. Now, when I put my bronzer powder on, you're going to see me take that powder into the top of my brow just to blend that base out a little bit. But for this eye, I'm not putting any transitional shade right there. But yeah, this is the eye. And we're going to go ahead and get into face now. All right, today we're going to prime with two different primers. The first one we're going to use is one that I use every single time I do my makeup, and that's Top Secret by Lashing Out Glam. So we're going to take a little bit. You don't need a lot of Top Secret at all. That's just going to blur your skin. For prep to lay down that foundation. Okay. And next we're going to use Duckie Cosmetics. And I'm just going to use a little bit of that around this area. And we'll just take the excess and put it there. But mainly I use that here. Okay. Alright. I like to clean up as I go. So you'll hear me putting the tops back on and putting things back where they belong. Okay. Let's go grab a foundation. All right, since I am slightly tan, I'm actually going to take 2 of my Estee Lauders. This is 7C1 Rich Mahogany and 8 Neutral one. And that's Espresso. And we're going to mix those 2 together slightly. So these 2 we're going to bring together. Now I also like to mix Raincoat number 7 into my foundation, so we're going to put a little bit in that as well. All right, so this one is the 7C. This is my regular shade right here, and we're just going to dab in a little bit of the 8 Neutral, which is a little warmer than the 7. But we don't want to make it too dark, so just a little. And then I'm just going to put a dab of my Raincoat in there. I'm not going to use a lot of Raincoat today. So Raincoat was the same base that I put on my eye. It's good to mix into your foundation too. It really gives you a nice blurred finish. And then I'm going to take a clean 1010 brush, mix those 2 foundations together. Y'all forgive me, keep looking over there. I'm using my vlogging camera today for this one and not my regular camera. And I'm used to looking over there at my regular camera for recording. All right, so we're going to take that and we just going to lay it down. So this is another way we talked about earlier. I used the 1010 brush by Duckie Cosmetics right here. I got a little bit of shimmer on my face, so before I put that foundation down, you can take the back of a brush, like these brushes like this, like an eyeshadow brush, and literally just Wipe it off with that. Takes it off perfectly. And glitter. So mixing these two together gives me a nice complexion that's matching my tan. But normally I'm way cooler. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get this foundation laid down and we'll be back. Alright, so we're going to take the remainder of the product off my hand. And we're just going to start tapping it. It's on my chest. I was like, what is that? I felt that. Alright, we're going to start tapping that foundation. And again, we just pushing that foundation into our skin. Now, I don't clean up the eye with my foundation, so that look crazy right there is because I'm intentionally not going under there. I'll clean that up with my concealer and on the side of my eye with my concealer. You can clean it up with your foundation if you like, you know, it's just my preference to clean it up with my concealer. No big deal either way. Again, it's makeup. Do what you want. Do what you want as long as you get the result that you're looking for. That's all that matters. I do not put foundation on my neck. I match my foundation to my chest. If you pick the right foundation shade, you should never have to put makeup on your neck. Let me look at this camera. Okay. All right, so that's nice and pressed in there. What y'all think? Okay, so now we're going to get into concealer. So for concealer today, we're going to use number 12, 10, and 11 by Respect the Crown. So I'm going to get the concealer laid down. We're going to also use Respect the Crown for our cream bronzer in shade 15. So we're going to lay that down and come back, and I'll come back with it laid down and then we'll blend it in. Okay, so how I apply my, you can do yours however you feel is best. However you feel is best for you. But how I apply my concealers when I use 3 different shades, which I do a lot, is I take the darker shade to clean up the eye on the outer corner, and on the edge of the eye, the middle shade for right underneath of my eye, and then in the inner corner and everywhere else I go with the lighter shade. That's what works for me. But you might just use one concealer. You know, it all depends on what the finished look that you want to look like. And then the bronzer, as you can see, is here, 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 and alongside my nose and alongside the chin. So we're going to blend all of this out, starting with the concealer. Okay, so I like to start on the outer corner with blending my concealer and work my way into the inner corner. Always make sure you look up at some point so you can get into the creases and folds of the eye. Okay, so you see how that blended out. We're going to do this side. Same thing. We're going to start from the outer corner and work our way in. Look up at some point. Make sure you tap alongside that nose, right underneath of that cream bronzer placement. Okay. Yeah. Okay, here. And blend that out. Now, if you have blemishes, I don't have them, but if you have blemishes like acne or anything like that, you might have to use a color corrector before starting your makeup, which is normally like an orangish reddish color, and it helps like fade out the blemish and then conceal. But for most people, a concealer will do the job, especially if you're using a good concealer. Some of my favorite concealers, of course, is this one, Respect the Crown. My absolute favorite is Milani. That's what I normally use if I'm going out, I use Milani. And I also like Black Radiance. All right, so we're going to get all of this blended out, and then we're going to come back. Now, also, you could actually like blend your cream blush now, but I personally like to blend out the concealers and the bronzer and then go in with the blush. So when I come back, we'll go in with the blush. All right, so now we are applying the blush, the liquid blush, which is literally right above that bronzer. And we're going to blend that in. Let's get a... And on this side, and we dab the nose, because we're going to dab the nose with the powder blush too. So just a little dab. Right, so then we're going to go back into that concealer brush, not adding any more product. We just want to make sure that that concealer is blended into the blush before we set. Okay. And we're going to blend. Same thing, look up when you're applying that setting powder. And this is Butter Pecan by Lashing Out Glam. Alright, so we're going to set the rest of the face and we'll be back. Alright, so we have applied our powders. We use Butter Pecan to set the under eye, the nose, and the highlighted areas. And then we use Dark Deep by one side to set the rest of the face. We're going to use the setting spray powder melt by one side to melt it down. Okay, we'll take our fan to it. As you can see, we got a piece of glitter. On the face. Let's go off. How y'all liking it so far? Okay, so next up, we're going to go in with our powdered blush and our powdered bronzer, okay? So for our powdered blush today, let's keep it simple. Let's go and get some orange out of Juvias. So I don't have to go and get another one. And let's maybe do an orange and a pink. Yeah, we'll do volume 6 and 5 by Juvias Place for our blush. And we might as well just go ahead, since we right here, use the Juvias bronzer as well. Alright, so let's get a brush for our blush first. So let's go in with this pink, this shade of pink right here. Okay, and we're just gonna lightly tape that around and apply it the same way we applied the cream. Okay. And again, this is a step that everybody don't do. Some people just might go in and use one blush, one cream or one powder. I like to do both. Okay, so that's our blush. And we're going to go in with another, which is this orange right here, and kind of ombre it a little bit. Okay. Just kind of tying that blush into the eye a little. Okay, then we're going to go in with our powder bronzer. And I'm using the dark bronzer palette. Okay, and we're just gonna take that over the cream, or where we applied the cream. Now, for the bronzer, when it comes to the nose, because we want to keep the nose snatched, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. And it's actually a broken 321 brush by Lashing Out Glam, but it's perfect for applying this to the nose, okay? And remember earlier I said I was going to take that also into the brow. And we'll do that now. Okay. Okay, so now that we applied more bronzer, we're going to set again. And then when I come back, we're going to apply our finishing powder. We're going to do the under eye and our finishing spray. Then we'll be ready for lips, lashes, and highlight. And y'all know I love the highlight. If you don't know, now you know. Okay, so for the under eye, I think I want to ombre it first with I think this is like a white or silverish shade liner on the waterline, and then a plum. And then we're going to blow it out by going back into the palette. So we'll do the lighter shade right here in the inner corner. Okay, then we're going to go back into the palette, and I think I want to take a little of that, let's see, yeah, let's take the, let me get a brush. And we're going to go back in the palette, and we're going to take the shade Cinch, which we lined that purple with, and rouged, and we're going to blow them out together. So we're going to take that purple first along the edge. Okay. I gotta turn that fan down so my eye don't start watering. All right, then we're gonna go into rouge. There. Again, we're going to take this because I need to get this glitter off. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's go into our finishing powders. So the first one I'm going to use is going to be Cinnamon Frappe. And it looks like that. And this just gives you a nice finished polished look. All right, and then we're going to go and use a little bit of Espresso as well. I picked up everyone except for Espresso. And we're just going to put it just everywhere, just like we just did with the other one. Nothing too crazy. All right, so now we are ready for our finishing spray. And I'm going to go with a matte finishing today. And this is the Smoke and Mirrors matte finish. It comes in 3, matte, dewy, and radiant. And I love them all. Okay, so put the fan to it and we'll be back. Okay, so now we are ready to prep for lashes. And for lashes, we're going to be doing Velma by Duckie Cosmetics. The gold bricks. If you know, you know. If you don't know, go over to Duckie Cosmetics, Code Nikki. Find out. I have over here in front of me probably, I'll show y'all. Let's see if I can turn the camera around. 150 of Duckie Cosmetics lashes. I love her lashes. They are the only lashes I wear unless it's a color lash for some cosmetic creative look. But other than that, that's the only lash you're going to see me in. So I like to use Kiss Glue. If I'm using it, putting these on temporarily like I am now, I'll use the regular strength. If I am going to be going out swimming, sweating, or anything like that, I use the super strength, because that one will last you for days. As long as you know, you're not immersed in water 24/7. But I go swimming in them and everything with that glue. So I like to put it on my lash and on my lid. So we're going to put it on our lash line. And because I did glitter, we're going to make sure we stay low in that lash line, so the lash is flushed. All right, so we're going to let them dry down, and we're going to get into lips. Our lips will also be Duckie Cosmetics today. I just have to decide which lip combo we're going to do. I know we're going to be using the blue for sure, the dark blue, which is Swedish. Right, so this will be a totally different lip for me, but let's give it a swirl. We're going to do Swedish, FiFi, and Daisy, which is 3 of the brand new 7 lippies that Duckie Cosmetics put out over a few weeks ago. But in total, I think we're up to 55 different shades. So we're gonna use Swedish, which is this pretty blue. I just love it. And these are all matte formulas. I may or may not go over it with duct tape. We'll see. And Duckie Cosmetics matte don't move once it dry down. You literally got to put work in it to get it off with a makeup wipe. So and we're going in with FiFi. And Daisy. We're going to use Daisy for our splash. All right, and that's the lip combo. I like it. I like it. Let's go back into Swedish a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to lay down our lashes. Again, these are Velma by Duckie Cosmetics. Again, because we did the glitter, I'm staying low on that lash line. Let's take our time to place the lash. See how that lash just enhanced the entire look. It's nothing like a Duckie Cosmetic lash. And those are the lashes. Okay. Now for one of my favorite parts is the highlights. And we are using Duckie Cosmetics Glass Slipper for highlight today. And we are going to use a highlight glow duck brush to apply it. And let's turn the light down on this camera. Y'all see that highlight? Now we're going to go in with a matte finish again. And normally, actually, let's do it. We're going to take it and just make sure that's in there. Blending it in with everything else. Okay, nose too. Okay. Yeah. We're going to let that dry down. And y'all, we have completed my first full YouTube makeup vlog today. Thank you if you watched this video. I hope it helps you, especially if you're new to makeup, and it helps you to just think about what process you might want to use for yourself. Remember, your process is going to be your process, not my process. This just gives you an idea of how we get from point A to Z with our looks. There are things that I do that you may not even need to do. Like I said, some exceptions is sometimes people only use a cream blush or a cream bronzer or a powder brush or a powder bronzer. I like to use both. I like the finish that using both give me. So this is the finished look. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. I will put in the description all of the products that I used today for this look. And I hope that you guys are having an amazing day in Slay.